Only God's plan for salvation will work. This is something that I actually relied on throughout my travels and my various following guidance experiences, and I would say all the time, even as my 5 years I was really seeking to transcend the world, was that where would you have me go, what would you have me do, what would you have me say, and really discussing and coming, say, one-on-one with God. And as much as I'm in that situation now, it's a little bit different when you really come to know the perspective of what, say, God is in the totality, but there's still that communication. And in that sense of still being a representative of what that is. But most likely when you are recognizing and trying to find salvation, you need to learn how to recognize what it is first. So in that sense of following guidance in that way of actually asking, instead of insisting you already know. So there's, throughout these lessons, these various lessons about salvation, we are starting to get into this idea of magic, that we actually put magic into things. Like we think our salvation can be in medication, and this topic actually comes up, but in the sense of medication, instead of recognizing or realizing that we actually give the power to the medication to work. Now, I'm not saying get off medication at all, but I'm simply hoping that we can actually start looking at the fact that the only reason you have salvation in the medication is because you already handed over the position of your salvation, for whatever reason, from that sickness, into and put it onto the painkiller medication, whatever it might be. So it works, yes, but that medication, just like that wholeness, the wholeness of who you are, includes all medication. Like it is an aspect of you. So either you can have it and be in charge of it, or you can have it out here. There is no difference between the inner and the outer, even as that gets into a little bit of more deeper subject, but kind of bringing all these lessons together. So in this sense, we actually want to just come into recognition that we need to surrender our will and start coming into what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? And start becoming more sensitive to what salvation has to offer. So in the sense of what God's plan for salvation is, it really doesn't even talk about it in the sense of plan. It's more like just the way. And so since you don't know, like when you think of plans, when we as human beings think of plans, like if we had a plan to build a house, there's step-by-step instructions to build a house, right? For an example. Or step-by-step instructions to get someplace, just like your GPS or your Siri or whatever. GPS. I can't believe that's in the past already. Okay, but in the experience of that, what's the next step is what you're asking. What's the next step for this plan? So along my journey, I was following and traveling all over the place and kind of, what is going to work out? What do you want me to do? Where is my healing? Where do you want me to go for my healing? How do you want me to confront this situation, work in this situation? And everything I was surrendering and choosing not to come from me as much as possible, and kind of surrender and let that go. And that's part of forgiveness, and what forgiveness is being able to surrender it and just say, I'm here to represent. I'm here to go where you want me to go. I want salvation. I want happiness too. I want peace as well, right? I want that. So please show me the step, the very next step, in order to actually achieve that. Okay, so you keep going the very next step, and if something comes up in your life, hey, go on this cruise with me. That happened often, actually. It's like, is this what you have me do? And yes or no. if this, hey, come to this conference, or I'm inviting you to this conference. Oh, should I? What do you want me to do? You still kind of go within following that guidance, and while you still think there's a difference, and you think you're separate from everything else, you have to actually deliberately choose to follow guidance. You have to deliberately choose to ask. Say, God, what would you have me do? Would you have me go to this conference? Would you not? If there's any sort of doubt and confusion, I like to say, when in doubt, throw it out. It's a no, because it goes into certainty. You're asking where all things are possible in God? You think it won't tell you? Like, yes. Like, you're going to find so many different variations. Yes, the ego tries to get involved in this whole yes or no thing, and tries to make it into specific characteristics and all this stuff. So you're going to be trying to figure out what guidance is while you're still confused about it. But in the sense of being confused, that's not guidance. It's a sureness. It's a direction of certainty. It's kind of has a stability about it, and it's peaceful. It's kind of natural. It's kind of just, even like the way I started this course, it really was just a natural thing. It's just like, oh, hey, it's time. As I've wanted to, and I had this idea of doing this course for beginners in a more simple manner than the intensive for a few years since the intensive, right? And so I've wanted to do that, but it was like, and then I just woke up and it was just natural. I was just like, oh, yeah, let's do it. Oh, it's time. And I just, kind of just pushed the buttons, and it's happened. It just kind of fell into place. It all was ready to go. So it's pretty interesting how it happens like that. And you see that so not always, like, you're going to hear a lot of people tell you that every single time you follow guidance, everything falls into place. Yes, but no. Because guidance also takes you to situations where healing is necessary. While you need healing, you're going to be guided to situations where healing is necessary. Because, it's not necessary if you didn't need healing. But if you need healing, if you have difficulties and resentments and grievances in the way from the total salvation, then yes, you're going to be naturally taken into situations where it comes up. It's like, whoa, and you're going to have these difficulties, these pains coming up. You're like, I hate these type of people, or, I can't, what, you're going to, you need me to go over there? Or weird things happen, get arrested, get beat up, all sorts of things. But it's all for your healing. And you can't heal it if you don't face it. You have to really put yourself in the situation so that you can forgive. Healing is the process of forgiving. You have to be able to forgive your resentments, grievances, and judgments and abilities to discern between these situations. If they're good, right, wrong, bad, up, down, doesn't matter. You're judging it. And forgiveness relinquishes and surrenders your design, your obsession with yourself, and allows yourself to be what you actually are. So a healed mind is what it actually is. So even as that idea of sickness, that a healed mind doesn't experience sickness because it also doesn't experience a body. So in that sense of what you have a body, you also have a separation idea. So not a total healed mind. You still have something to forgive. So salvation in so many different directions about illness, sickness, emotional stuff, as we discussed in the last one, and then all these different psychological things, that everything has a solution, and it does involve surrendering your will, your desire, to go in whatever direction, and following the guidance to alternate solutions. So follow guidance to alternate solutions. It's kind of there's something you can actually use all around. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And it might be nothing. You might not have anything to say. You might have nowhere to go. Don't worry about it. stress is definitely not involved if it is in that fashion. I know when I went places, I usually kind of disrupted the routines, even in spiritual places and mystical centers and things like that. I disrupted the scene, the routine that people had, and I started bringing people out of the box just naturally because I was just following guidance. And it was, to me, it was just, hey, let's just go this way, and let's go do this, and we get into different groups and all this different stuff. And yeah, it always brought up stuff and made unusual experiences where you talk about more sensitive subjects and you get into more various discussions that you usually avoid. And that's the thing, is that if you want healing, you can't avoid anything. If you avoid anything, you're kind of just saying, I only want the healing to this degree. Now, if you want full divine realization, if you want full enlightenment, if you want to know all that is, you can't stop anywhere. You have to keep going the totality to the very end. You have to keep forgiving all the way, every last little thing.